Hey guys! Hey guys, I hope you were doing well. Today I wanted to give you a quick run through of everything I read in the month of October. Now I realize this wrap up is a tiny bit late, but in all fairness I almost didn't film it at all, simply because I just didn't really like a lot of what I read in October. I feel kind of meh about a lot of it and quite honestly just don't have a lot to say on it. So I'm going to go through these in order of least favorite to most favorite, and I'm going to start off with my Victober reads because unfortunately those were the books that I didn't enjoy quite as much. Starting off, I read The Professor by Charlotte Bronte, which is about a man named William Crimsworth who, although he was raised as a gentleman and with a gentleman's education, finds himself without the means to live a gentleman's life. So he ends up traveling to Brussels where he becomes the English teacher at a boys' school and then later at the kind of associated girls' school, and where he ends up falling in love with one of his pupils. Now I wanted to read The Professor because I've never really clicked with Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I've read it several times and just, I don't know, I haven't ever really loved it as much as other people. So I thought, you know, give her a second chance, read something completely different and see whether it's Jane Eyre the novel I don't like or Charlotte Bronte the author. And oddly enough, after reading The Professor, I feel very conflicted because now I actually enjoy Jane Eyre more in comparison because I disliked The Professor so very much. I don't really want to go on about why I didn't like it because I don't think it's a bad book by any means. I just don't think it was the right book for me. Though I will say I think my main issue is her writing style. It's just so overdone. The characters are so dramatic and just everything is kind of, I don't know, it was too over the top for me and I really didn't like the main character, William. And I find the power dynamics in her relationships and her romantic relationships to be really off-putting. So there, I did go on a bit about it, but anyways, I ended up giving it 2 stars. My other Victober read during the month was Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, which I also feel slightly conflicted on, though I did like it more and I ended up giving it 3 stars. This is probably one of Dickens' most well-known novels about the young orphan boy Pip, who grows up with his sister and her blacksmith husband before he meets the mysterious and kind of stuck-in-time Miss Havisham and gets thrust into a world that he has never before known. Later in life, he is contacted by an anonymous benefactor who wants him to live as a gentleman in London, and things kind of go from there. I want to start off by saying that I actually really enjoyed the story and I enjoyed the characters, and I think that Dickens writes really vividly. Like, I really could picture the atmosphere of the locations Pip was in. I could really get a sense for the characters, but I think what I didn't like about the book was totally my fault. Because I was listening to this on audiobook and because Dickens can be a bit long-winded in areas, I would find myself really engaged in certain chapters and certain kind of characters and storylines, and then I would get bored and kind of tune out for a couple of chapters and then would kind of tune back in and be like, wait, what's going on? Who are these characters? So it wasn't that I didn't like the book, it was just that I wasn't being an active listener 100% of the time, and I think I kind of ruined it for myself. So I think this will be one that hopefully later I will go back to and maybe read in physical form. But yeah, I think this was a fun story, not anything like spectacular, but a fun story nonetheless, and like I said, I gave this one 3 stars. Luckily, the last book I read in its entirety during the month also happened to be my favorite book of the month. Hands down, I give it 5 stars, and that is Amy Tan's new memoir, Where the Past Begins, A Writer's Memoir. Now this one obviously is an uncorrected proof, so sorry for the glare, but Echo Press, which is an imprint of HarperCollins, reached out to me back in September or August asking if I wanted to review this for April Magazine. So we did, and I do have a full written review up on April Magazine right now, so I will link that in the description box below because I promise you I'm more articulate there. Basically, I would recommend this not only for fans of Amy Tan as a novelist, but for fans of books about the creative process. So if you like getting inside an artist's head and seeing how they work, seeing what makes them tick, and seeing how they overcome obstacles, this is a book you are going to have to pick up. Honestly, I can't recommend this highly enough. So those are all the books I read in their entirety in the month, but I did start 2 others, the first of which was Social Ecology in the Digital Age, Solving Complex Problems in a Globalized World by Daniel Stokels. Sorry, I had to read that title because it's quite long. Fun fact, Dan Stokels actually was one of my dad's grad school professors, which is how I found out about the book. Basically, they reconnected back at the beginning of summer, Dan was saying, you know, I'm really trying to get this book out to a wider, less academic audience, and my dad was like, hey, funny you should mention that because my daughter has a thing you might be interested in. Social ecology is a multidisciplinary practice that kind of combines ecology, sociology, psychology, anthropology, and kind of just helps people study how we interact with each other and the environments around us, and how those environments around us, whether that is local, national, or global, how that affects our well-being and our functionality and all that. I'm not explaining it very well, but I will have a full written review of this up on my blog later this week, so keep an eye out for that. I will probably tweet out a link. Can't talk today. I'm really enjoying the book so far. It is definitely academic, but it's not so dense that you can't get through it, and I just find the whole concept really interesting. And I think especially if you're interested in kind of sociology or psychology and you're trying to figure out what you want to study or do with your life, I think this might be an interesting one. The other book that I started during the month of October was Exit West by Mohsin Hamid, and unfortunately I had to return this to the library before I had gotten more than 2 chapters into it, so I feel like I can't really offer that much of an opinion, but I did want to say that I was kind of expecting a little bit more from the immediate opening. You guys know that I read The Reluctant Fundamentalist, also by Mohsin Hamid, earlier this year and absolutely loved it. And while I would say that Exit West had that same really easy to read quality to the writing style, I wasn't immediately blown away. I think part of the problem there was probably that I've just heard so many fantastic things about the book that I was expecting a little bit more pizzazz, I guess, right out the gate. So what I think I'm gonna do now is just like wait a while to read it. I have another Mohsin Hamid book on my shelf that I do need to read if I feel like picking up more of his work, but I think I need to just leave it alone for a little while, let the hype settle, let the dust settle a bit, and then pick it up when I'm feeling less like I've had an impression of the book already imprinted in my brain. So those were all of the books that I read during the month of October, and obviously it was not quite as good a reading month as I had in September, but I guess that's to be expected. You can't be, you know, on a super high note all the time. If you guys have read any of these books and you would like to chat with me about them in the comments below, I always appreciate that. But for now, that is all I have to talk to you guys about today. So I'm gonna run to work. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you next time. Bye.